Though it may not seem like it, three very, very big things have indeed happened very recently regarding the Brexit, shall we say, process, all of which have pretty much involved Boris Johnson having to, well, take a step back because he knows the full danger of what is ahead. And as we are going to get into later in this article, there are some incredibly worrying warning signs about the state of the UK economy should these, shall we say, Brexit processes continue. Not only that, but we've seen once again, HMRC has once again put out stuff warning companies this week about the impending border checks that are going to be implemented soon at our border. We've been here before. We were literally here this time 3 months ago. We were here this time last March of this year as well. We've seen this happen time and time again. They're almost about to happen, and then in last time this happened, literally like 3 months ago, we were a week before they decided to go, okay, no, we're going to push these down the road. So are we once again going to be pushing these checks again down the road when we know full well again that the reason why we had to kick these checks down the road yet again was because the ports weren't ready, the infrastructure wasn't ready, the manpower there to run these places just wasn't ready, we don't have enough vets, etc., etc., etc. Nothing's changed in 3 months. So if I had money, I'd be willing to put a bet on that these checks once again get kicked down the road. But of course, let's get into the other things that have been happening as well, because these other things have also been very, very significant, and just goes to show you that we never really held all the cards in the Brexit negotiations, let alone anything to do with Brexit. So, as always, thank you to all those people who do support the channel by clicking the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So, on with this. This comes from Bloomberg with the title, Johnson lowers the temperature on 3 fronts. So, what is happening? The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has stepped back from the brink of conflict with the EU on 3 issues that have caused the most friction in the relationship. The move gave officials in Westminster time to address the growing sleaze scandal that is threatening to engulf one of the godfathers of Brexit, the leader of the House, Jacob Rees-Mogg. It also reflects the government's very own ambition to firm up the spluttering economic recovery and concentrate on the new variant of the coronavirus, which is threatening to push up infections, which have been running hot for months. On fishing, the UK granted a bunch of new licenses for French ships seeking to work in British waters. The EU's Fishery Commissioner Valjanis Salvonex hailed the move as a sign of progress on border trade agreements that officials hoped to wrap up by the 10th of December. The issue had been a flashpoint for UK relations, with the French boats blockading ports and a ramp leading to the Eurotunnel's operations last month. Temperatures are also cooling on migration. Less than a week after the French President Emmanuel Macron slammed the UK for not taking the issue seriously, the government in Paris is now working on an outline for an agreement with the EU that would help the bloc with the flow of people illegally crossing the Channel. Britain toned down its rhetoric after France's Interior Minister scrapped discussions with the UK's counterpart, Priti Patel, in protest to a series of tweets and an open letter on the issue by Johnson. Discussions on Northern Ireland are also rumbling on. And despite the threats from the UK to try and trigger Article 16, which will allow the nation to suspend parts of the Brexit Accord, while Britain's Brexit Minister David Frost says that the suspension option is still there, officials on both sides say they will keep talking about how to manage the trade flows between the UK mainland and Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Tensions calmed in recent weeks, with the UK saying that it is still keeping talking as long as the EU is constructive, defying the earlier expectations for a rupture before Christmas that could lead to an all-out trade war. And of course, that's the last thing Boris Johnson would want. And on that front, we've said before, Johnson has no leverage here. If he triggers Article 16, it will erupt into a trade war, which will lead to a very disruptive Christmas. And that is the last thing like Johnson wants. He's desperate to try and have the illusion that Christmas is going to be all fine and dandy in this country, because he is desperate to have a quiet Christmas when as we've seen at the moment, if you were to trigger Article 16, even after that, anything but would be this case. And of course, as we'll get later into some of the economic numbers, even if you did decide to trigger Article 16, the UK's economy would pretty much collapse. And again, the idea that has been spread about that Frost could trigger Article 16 when he wanted to, he's never, ever going to trigger it. It is the threat of a unloaded gun in a box that is locked away safely in a completely different building. So the EU's post-Brexit finance system took a bit more shape. The Financial Services Commissioner, Martin McGuinness, said that the EU's reliance on third parties like the UK for clearing infrastructure is not sustainable. That underlines the EU's ambition to develop yet an alternative to London clearinghouses like the London Stock Exchange Group plc. Again, going to be a massive blow to the UK when that fully gets up and running. Unveiling measures to build cross-continental links through a capital markets union. The trade commissioner, Valdis Dombrovskis, said that Brexit has added the urgency of developing our own capital markets. Deutsche Bank Chief Executive Officer Christopher Schwing said that London would remain a critical place for his institution, though he is trying to achieve a balanced headcount between there and Frankfurt. And of course, financial capitals are now feeling the pressure. Hedge fund boss Paul Marshall said that the UK stock market is losing relevance as China and the US surge ahead. Trading volumes in London have slipped well below those for American equities, and the founder Marshall Walsh wrote in a column for the Financial Times, said that London is becoming a global backwater. What a surprise. Across the pond, and the Goldman Sachs Group LLC CEO David Solomon warned that the New York City is fast becoming too expensive for workers who may well go elsewhere. He's also expanding in tax-friendly states, including Texas and Florida, saying incentives matter, tax matters, and living cost matters. And of course, this is the chart of the week for the GDP Watch. So while we are, as you can see, ahead down in the numbers here, well ahead in growth for where we are, the blue one there, the red one is where we are currently. The blue one is again predicted for the future. And then, as you can see, we're down here, dropping like a stone for that growth. But why is that happening? Well, again, it's all to do with Brexit. Britain is headed for the fastest growth in the group of 7 major economies this year, but next year will suffer a massive setback if supply shortages are allowed to worsen, Odex said. A lack of workers to fill open jobs and persistent disruptions to the flow of goods across the border could face the companies with reduced output, damaging the pace of recovery in the economy, and the Paris-based group concluded in a report. The findings highlighted the risk of the pandemic and Britain's departure from the European Union, which have added friction at the border that is disrupting the flow of goods and workers. Again, not good. Not good economic outlooks at all. But again, if you know anything about Brexit or have followed any economists, following on from Brexit, like I say, what was the head of the former Bank of England? We've covered him before on here. Can't remember his name, but yeah, look what he had to say about Brexit. And again, the rest of that panel, or the experts of that panel, that was saying, yeah, it's going to be not good for the economy of the UK because we've just become less and less attractive for people to come and invest in. What are you meant to do? You can't just turn this around like a bicycle. We were part of something much bigger than we were, and now we've left that thinking that we were this massive trading power. Not going to happen, never going to happen, and again, based very much on imperial fantasies of the Brexiteers. But again, as we've always said, Brexit will never work. It was a terrible idea from the outset, and again, our economy will suffer as a result of all this. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. And as always, we'll see you all next time.